Whether you are on an adventure or at the downtown cafe, your answers are no more than a sniff away. Dog Training 360's purpose is simple: to teach you why dogs do what they do, as well as the action steps you need to take to have better communication, connection, consistency, and conceivability with your dog. So in the last couple of podcasts, we've been talking about puppy development and the stages of the puppy and what they go through and what to watch for and when should you get the puppy at the right time. And so this week we're going to be talking about the environmental awareness stage, which is the time between 9 and 12 weeks. This is the time that we typically get called in as trainers to for help, because they're in this 6 to 8 week period, and there's just little weeble wobble things. And then we head into this really 9 week stage. And Melissa, let's talk a little bit about that 9 to 12 week stage that you see as you go into homes with people.
This is the time where so the puppy's still fun and they're still not mobile enough to get into too much trouble yet, but owners are starting to realize, oh, my dog's moving around. Oh, and this is the age where they start kind of really realizing cause and effect. Then puppy's like, oh, when I do this happens, and all these sorts of fun connections are being made. Yeah. And so during this period where connections are being made, the puppy's testing a lot of boundaries. Yeah. Testing relationships, testing where they are in the pack, because they just got this new home. Right. And so it's the perfect time for us to come in when they're puppies. Right. Because that's when the bonds are being made between pack members. Yeah. Yep.
So Shannon, having Louie from birth, and you had to play this dog mom role, let's say the dog role in his life. Do you remember during this stage what you did to kind of help nurture this stage of his life?
Well, it's a really crazy stage of life for dogs, because since they're learning all these connections that they have with people and other dogs, it's a really fine balance between like having your dog learn good manners from being around other dogs. And if you have your dog with other dogs too much, then they will bond to dogs and want to be more with the dogs than they will with humans. Yeah. And if you have your dog only with humans, then they don't learn dog manners, and then you can have a lot of behavior problems of them with other dogs that you meet. Yeah. So for me, it was really challenging because he didn't have a doggy mom or a litter mates to learn manners from. He was just with me. Luckily, I had another dog at the time. And so we just balanced the time between him being with me at my house and him being with my sister Carly, who had my dog Boston at her house. And we went back and forth so that he had time with other dogs that had good social skills and good manners. But then we also had time that was only with humans so that he would be bonded to me and Mike. So it's really hard because it's a really fine line. Yeah. Especially when you have a dog in a weird situation like I did, where you may not have access to the normal growing up like with other puppies, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to come back to this next thing and it's off of what you had said, but Melissa, this is the time that people, they tend to head into some kind of a group puppy class type situation, and because the dog has to be social and we need to have those skills. And so what do you find that happens when people head into these puppy classes and the dog's social skills during this time?
The best with this whole situation, a story about my childhood, and this is a perfect example of what happens with puppies. So I only went to daycare a couple of times, but the first time I went, I noticed like the older kids would stack boxes by the window and then they could climb out the window. So I learned that was a super fun activity. And so I did that at home, and I was the little escape artist, always jumping out the window. And so that is what your puppy is doing in group puppy classes. A lot of times, a lot of things we hear is, oh, my puppy learned how to bark from this group class. Dogs can learn and observe good behaviors and bad behaviors. And so when that whole push of you need to socialize, you don't. You don't need to force it. It needs to come naturally with your circles and how you naturally socialize. Your puppy's born social. if we put them in these uncomfortable situations, it only makes bad connections.
Yeah.
And so then you get a puppy that goes, oh, when I'm with other dogs, it's stressful and I need to be defensive.
Yeah.
Or, oh, when I'm with other dogs, I'm going to bark and bully.
Right.
Because then I don't get in trouble.
Right.
And so you don't need to push your dog away during this period.
Mm-hmm.
Have them learn with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think the other thing that I find with people in the puppy classes, and it's not bashing a group class, it just needs to be managed appropriately.
Exactly.
And what I find is happening out there with these puppy classes is you have the bully,
Mm-hmm.
you have the barker,
Mm-hmm.
you have the chaser and the chasee,
Mm-hmm.
and your dogs will all kind of fit in that. And then what the trainer ends up doing is they'll take the aggressor and remove them and make them sit in this box or this bubble or this closet and watch everybody play. And he doesn't know why he's being punished.
Mm-hmm.
Or the discipline happens and it's all associated to this social thing that now, because they're in their environmental awareness stage, that I got in trouble playing with these dogs, I got removed for playing with these dogs, so now that's not a good experience. And that's what I'm finding a lot with these puppy classes is they, instead of trying to pair up the puppies correctly on how their play level is they're removing and saying, your dog's aggressive, put it on leash. Right. And these puppies are still trying to figure it out. And if you can coach them and pair them up with the right dog, then the play time becomes really healthy. Or you've got the shy dogs that are hiding under the chair and the bully is bullying the shy dog, when the bully won't be a bully if it's paired up with the aggressor. Right. Because they'll balance each other out and go, oh, yeah, that doesn't feel good. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And so I remember a group class that we did, and Louis was in the puppy class.
Mm-hmm. He was the smallest, youngest puppy in the class.
Yep. And there were times that he just stayed sitting next to you. Mm-hmm. And it was a big class, and the class was a bit rowdy. Mm-hmm. But we had a couple of shy ones. And I remember taking everybody and pairing that and just having the people stand in that circle and kind of protect the little shy ones so they could calmly go, oh, who are you? Oh, I'm really little and I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay because I'm scared to death. And they had this whole conversation going. And then eventually by the end of our 6 weeks, these shy dogs were kind of sticking together, but they would go out and romp with everybody else. And so we never isolate. It's like, that's fine if you want to play rough because they've all got their own personalities. But if you can nurture how and who and what they're being paired up with, you know, and educating the people on what you're seeing instead of that dog's aggressive and being mean to everybody, so put it on a leash and hold it back. Yeah. And so I find when we come in during this stage, there's a lot of the puppies that were, you know, kicked out of puppy class because they were the aggressor, and really actually they were the ones that just needed the most guidance on you know, what they can and can't do without, you know, being isolated. And so environmentally these dogs learn that this social thing is not a good thing because we get in trouble, versus coaching and helping and moving forward. What's the biggest risk that we have at this stage environmentally from when you say that we're in this connection or in this bonding time? So, you know, we have a lot of clients that are starting to add a second dog into their family. And this is right where we're headed into that. What are the risks of bringing in a puppy into a home, Melissa, that's got one or two other dogs?
Your puppy's going to connect with them. That's the main
with
risk.
the other
with
dog.
the other dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same species. They're going to go, hey, no, I can communicate with you a lot easier. Yeah. And they're going to pack up with them rather than join us.
Yep.
As a pack. And so that's.
What would your recommendation be? Because this is the normal time that everybody picks up their dog. Yeah. Or, you know, brings them into their home. What would your recommendation be to those people that have multiple dogs and bringing in a puppy?
Do one-on-one activities with the puppy a lot. Have the puppy follow you. Have the puppy attached on leash that comes with you. And so your older dogs you just let them go hang out in the yard for a while. Don't let your puppy just join them for extended periods of time. Have your puppy do the routines with you. you hang out with them, you hand feed them, you go take them out to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So they go with you, and then, they're with the dogs as well. So you don't want to completely isolate them from the other dogs.
Right.
Because then they won't have any, like, they won't learn the cues.
Yeah.
But making sure that you're proactive about, hey, you come join me. I'm really cool. Come join me. This is super fun what we're doing over here.
Yeah.
And having them on leash attached.
Yeah.
So there is that bond.
And what about having, changing routines or rules for the older dog when the puppy comes in?
I don't change. I never really tell them to change too much of the rules. That makes more of a big deal that this new little weird creature came into the house.
Yep.
Dogs love their routines. That's safety. And so another little weird fuzzball coming in is going to disrupt a lot.
Yeah.
If we take away their routines, then that's asking for for problems. So keep your routine. Keep whatever you do in the morning. We go for a walk. Yeah. Your puppy can stay home during that time. Yeah. They don't need. Your puppy does not need to go for 30-minute to an hour walk. Right. At all. Your puppy can be exhausted. Yeah. So keep those routines separate, and then they'll integrate a lot better than your older dog is going, what the heck's going on? Yeah. Everything's changed. Let's start kind of picking on this little guy. Right.
And it's totally acceptable for your dogs in your household to have different rules from each other and different routines from each other. Like, I think people get a puppy and they think it becomes a part of their pack by following the same rules. And it's really just not true. Yeah. Like, it's totally fine to have different rules and different routines for your dogs. Yeah. Like, at my house, I added 2 new dogs, right? And I let Louis have his own old routines, and they don't follow the same. Yeah. Like, Louis can sleep in the bed at night. Louis can be out in the yard or in the house all day. Yeah. Louis can do this, Louis can do that. But my other dogs have a more structured, like, they have to be in the kennel for so many hours and they have to be outside for so many hours and we have to do this, la 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 la, because I'm integrating them into the house so that eventually they will have the same rules that Louis, when they're ready for it. Yeah. But they're new to the house and they're learning what those are. And so it's totally fine that Louis can be out, and I don't feel guilty that I let him sleep in the bed and the other dogs have to sleep in their kennel, because guess what? I don't want my house chewed apart. I don't want pee all over my floor. Until they can learn what those rules are, they're going to follow the same routine of what a puppy would, So, and it's fine. Don't feel guilty.
Yeah. No, and what's crazy is Patsy and Caroline, Patsy's older. And in the terms of training, she should be the one that's ready to sleep out at night. But she's too fixated on the cat, and the cat's too busy at night. And so none of us would sleep. So I'm almost certain cute little Patsy will probably sleep in her crate for the rest of her life until she can figure out that we just let the cat exist and ignore it. But, she chases the cat, and then she gets back up on the bed, and she settles real nice. And she actually just stays at the foot of the bed. But for me, that on and off. Where Caroline gets up on the bed and she's not getting off the bed, and she could care less that the cat joins us. She's just not moving from her spot as long as she can touch Chris and she can touch me and she can stretch out long ways. We're good. So, from a younger standpoint, it would seem weird that, well, Caroline gets to sleep out sooner than Patsy gets to sleep out, or Patsy may never sleep out at night. And so it doesn't have to be created equal, and it's not fair. And you do different things with your 3. Yeah. Not all of them do the same thing. Not all of them get to do this, Cooper gets to make a sandwich. Yep. It's just, there's just these different rules that happen, but you have to realize, right, that during this stage, you could really lose all connection from that second dog coming in. Because they're going to bond tightly to that first one. And if you want that, that's fine, but you have to be prepared for the behaviors that come along with it. Yeah. That when you call, you better have a good recall on the first dog, because the second one's going to follow. You can't just assume we're going to do it right with the second one and get a recall if you haven't created that connection. And so really that's with, bringing a puppy in and socializing them correctly is, if you expose and go to dog parks and think that you have to over socialize to make them social, you could have the biggest train wreck behaviorally, sociably, or you keep them so isolated that then there's other major issues coming along where you don't socialize them
Right.
in general.
And you have to be careful of what dogs you are socializing them with because they're learning these important social cues.
Yeah.
And so if you're taking them to the dog park or to daycare, I'm sorry to say most of the dogs that go those places do not have proper social cues.
Right.
And people are
Right.
taking them there to try and instill that in their dog.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you take your puppy there to learn from unbalanced dogs, it's going to create imbalance in yours.
Yeah.
So it's better to know balanced dogs. Maybe your parents have a nice balanced dog.
Sure.
Maybe your friend has a nice
Yeah.
balanced dog.
There's plenty
that you
I
can
mean,
just
right.
go on a little visit and learn some manners. But don't think that going to the dog park is the way to socialize
Yeah.
your dog to learn these, because it is absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a client, I picked up a dog this morning for to stay with me for a duration, and she said, I was so worried about her social skills. You kept telling me, you know, she's got good social skills. She goes, but we have had play dates and it's been great. And I'm like, that's because we did it right. That's why we did our lessons the way we did our lessons, not because I didn't want you to go to the dog park and socialize your dog. I wanted it done correctly. And so they, you know, super happy with,
Nice.
you know, just those things. And also, you know, it comes back to, you know, as trainers, and we have board and trains in, and we don't always get the fabulous dogs.
Right.
We don't even get the fabulous puppies most of the time.
Yeah.
They've got stuff that we have to work through. And so I'm really careful about what dogs get to go out with what dogs, and even really careful about what dogs go out with my dogs.
Yeah.
Because I'm building a strong dog trainers pack, and we're still in puppyhood. And so as we go through the stages, I don't want to disrupt that. And so you're really careful, even as adult dogs, you're careful about what you expose your dogs to, and pairing up the right personalities. And even I have two shepherds right now. One's an older, younger one, and the other one's under a year. And I've paired them up because the male is a bit more stoic, and he's got himself together. And so I'm hoping that it helps this female that's just a train wreck understand how to be a German Shepherd.
Right.
You don't always get those opportunities, but it's actually helping her. And she literally yesterday sat down next to him for the first time and just kind of watched the world go by as their puppies were playing out here, and just
Nice.
like watching things, you know, instead of just screeching and screaming and running back
Yeah.
and forth. So there's so much that's critical during this stage that if you mess it up, that's why they end up with us, and we have
Right.
to go through all these things with it. So adding a second dog, or getting a dog at this 9 to 11, 12-week stage is a very balanced fine line
Yeah.
of how you take them through life environmentally and sociably with people and with other dogs. And this is really the critical, not that it doesn't impact any other time, but this time is this is the stage that they're in growth, and you want to be careful how that plays into it. And sometimes I've had to go in and really discipline puppies at this age, and then from then on they're not really happy to see me. And I know that. I know going into it, you know, but sometimes they just need that, like, I've
Right.
got to be the hardball here, and I'm okay doing that because I'd rather them love you more than me. And so, you know, and then when you come back, they're like, oh, it's you. And you're like, happy to see you too. And you get it's kind of bummed sometimes when the puppy's like, nope, you did that to me at 9 to 12 weeks. You're environmentally and people, not you. But there's sometimes you just have to play that role to shift the behavior, because you don't want the owners to do that,
Right.
to disrupt it. So, what other advice would you give anybody at this stage of their puppies?
I think part of that we haven't talked about is the exploring the environment. Is if you don't have your dog attached to you, they will explore your house and learn that they can get into trouble by going away from you.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that you keep them with you and don't allow them to explore when you're supervising them, and don't let them explore like while you're on the computer or while you're on like your iPad or something, because that also leads to behavior problems.
Because we're definitely in the environmental awareness stuff.
Yeah, and they're explore and find the garbage is so cool, or the toilet paper is so cool, because they have wonderment and fun from like finding new exciting things as part of this exploration phase.
Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Treat your puppy like the dog you want it to become.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy. Their puppies are cute. They can get away from stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine. They'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
They won't.
Right.
Most of the stuff they're not going to
Yeah.
grow out. It's
Yeah.
going to morph into another behavior.
Right.
And so, yes, they have short attention spans, but they can be trained.
Yeah.
You can train a dog at this age. So do
Oh,
those
for sure.
things. Do the routines that you want the dog to be in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you imagine, like
Yeah.
what's the puppy going to become? Start that now.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So just be aware. We're heading into more puppy stuff, and it feels so fragile, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it's not really. And even if you miss that stage where you're like, oh, that's why something happened at that stage. You know, a lot of times I'm just as guilty with mine, that we're just like going through and you're like, oh, I should have done more of that.
Yeah.
Darn it. Now let's go back and do more. So it feels fragile and it feels scary, and you don't want to do the wrong thing, but doing nothing is just as bad as overkill too. So
Right.
it's not that fragile, but just be aware.
Right. Exactly.